All right, everybody. Our next video that we're going to focus on when it comes to install and learning about Graham Eagles football is going to be wide receivers and kind of how our wide receiver play ties in and what those routes are going to be. And by teaching kids terminology that they can use to remember the concepts and what they need to know and how that's going to allow them to get on the field. So kind of moving into our teaching or our bullet points before we dive into our routes. These are things to know. This install video is going to be geared toward if you are teaching wide receiver play to somebody who's never played in our system before, you're just coming out and you're joining the team for the first time. So things that you want to teach as a coach to those newbies, whether it's 9 years old or a junior in high school. Make sure your alignment and assignment are understood. Alignment and assignment understood. That means you know where you're supposed to be in the formation, the placement on the field. Maybe you're supposed to be on the numbers. Maybe you're the slot receiver. Maybe you're off the ball, maybe you're on the ball, and then what is your route going to be? So as you get that play call in the huddle, we hear it from the coach and then the quarterback, doubles right, 90 fog. We know what the formation, where I'm supposed to be on the field, and what my route's going to be. You can't just know routes but not be able to line up. It doesn't help yourself. You'll never get on the field. You're going to frustrate your coaches. You're going to frustrate yourself, your parents, and then your team, because you might be the best athlete, but if you don't know where to line up and where you're supposed to be, you're never going to get the chance to show off your skills and run those routes. Bullet point number 2, never be offsides or a false start penalty. You don't want to hurt the team. We want to teach as coaches every rep in practice, have your eyes inside, go off of what the cadence is going to be. That's either a hike sound, a coach saying hike, smacking the ball, clapping our hands, whatever it is. You're teaching that to where they build in that reputation. Our next bullet, every play should be emphasized with speed and takeoff. So when they're in that receiver stance, you as a wide receiver, everything is selling a vertical route. You are selling that you are going deep and going by somebody. Then you shift into your route. So your first few steps are coming out hard. They don't know if it's run or a pass. They don't even know if it's coming to your side of the field. You're playing games with the defense essentially. You already know the play. So you're trying to attack with your speed and then get into what your route is going to be. Bullet point number 4, probably the most important. Learn to block and take pride in it. A good way to teach and remind kids of this is don't block equals no rock. Don't block equals no rock. If you aren't able to, as a coach, get kids to understand angles and incorporate some drills about how to block people, there's no chance you're going to be able to get that kid on the field. We take pride in it at Graham Kapowson. Those guys can set the tone right off the bat. You see it in games all the time. Receivers coming off blocking corners, whether it's a pass or a run. You want to set the tone early, and then you can get by them and do different things. And then if you do those 4 things, that 5th bullet kind of takes care of itself. Knowing the route schemes, not just one position, helps with a better chance of getting on the field. So knowing what the terminology is and the verbiage, not just what the X is doing, not what the S is doing, but understanding the full word and number of the play. A brief slide or a visual right here for everybody to learn is what those routes are. So, you can see a number concept up here in the corner, 90 and 99. Even numbers are always going to think to the right, odd numbers to the left. So for that, that's kind of tied into your play call, but these are just some of those basic routes. 6 routes on here, starting left to right. You have your in route or your ISO route, and then that's always going to be kind of that 5-yard square in. We have our hitch, so terminology-wise of what you want to teach kids on that. You have your slant route, your arrow route, which is kind of the tricky one to teach, but we do it so much, but it's that 2-yard speed out essentially. You want to get 2 yards downfield, work to the sideline. You have your 5-yard out, and then you have your fade route vertical. These, again, are in our 90 and 99 game because that's our quick game. Our quick passing game, whether you're in shotgun or under center, where you want to try to get the ball out in a couple quick seconds and put it in the playmaker's hands. It's not a deep throw downfield unless you're taking a shot with a fade. Those deeper shots are going to kind of go with our 60 and 69 route tree. So these are going to be your longer developing routes, your corner, your posts, your wheels. Here's what a corner route, if you're looking for terminology or a drill in practice, want to work on that. A post curl. That's a big route for us. So you're selling vertical on the post, probably deeper than what this landmark is here, and then working back to a curl. On the right side, you've got a dig, or what a deep in route we call is. You've got your post and you've got your wheel. This is not an out and up. It's not a square 5-yard out and up. It is a wheel. So we are selling an arrow route 2 yards outside, show our hands, and then get back up the numbers to where that quarterback has a good landmark to get you the ball. So just looking back at those two slides, coaches know those inside and out. It's a good way for coaches and players just to have an idea. When a coach says run a slant, you know what you're supposed to run. Coach says run a wheel. You know a wheel is always going to go out. It's not going to go into the middle of the field and down the center. Post is heading towards the goal post. Corner route is working to the corner. So as you get older in age group and you're developing technique more, you can kind of work some different things that are going to help you. You're going to use the route word stem. You're going to use takeoff and kind of attack guys with speed. But from a day of us teaching receivers, and again, this install is taught towards beginning coaches, beginning players, learning our terminology and our verbiage and how they can incorporate that into their offense. With that, these next slides are going to be really important. All these formations are going to be drawn up as a doubles right formation. Obviously, you can go out of any other formation. We'll go through in a different video. You'll recognize our one-back formations. But all these are going to be doubles right. In our offense, our Y is always going to be our furthest outside receiver, Z in the middle, S is the slot on the left with X backside. X is always going to go backside of our of our formation. Running back in this, the circle's on the wrong side, but you would want the H on the right. So this would be doubles right, 90 fog. So you see that fog word in the middle. Fog starting with an F. We're going to work a fade on the outside with a 5-yard out. That's the FO part right there. Those two are going to be tied together. So fog, day one for us, that first week of practice. You could literally just do these routes on air. You don't even need a ball. You get in groups of 2. Guys get lined up. One's on the ball, one's off the ball. And you teach fog, which is a fade, 5-yard out. You can always mirror those routes, which means you're going to run it on both sides of the field. So your fog could go on the left side as well. But for this instant and teaching purpose, we're going to stick with 90 fog, which is going to work our even number to the right. Quarterback's eyes are working right. 5-yard out with the fade here. Our next slide is going to be sassy. So again, this would be a doubles right formation. 90 sassy. The number references are protection, but 90 sassy. It's got those extra S's in it, so that's going to set us up for our slant concept. We're going double slants on the outside. These are not in routes, but double slants. Backside concept, you can see we have what's called ISO. So that's going to be an in route with our seam. In route with our seam. This is something that if no route concept got called in the huddle, they would know that if we just said 90, both sides are running ISO. It's the same thing if I click back on this slide here with our fog. They're running ISO backside because it's 90 fog. The backside didn't get attached to anything. They run ISO. So here's our sassy game with ISO backside. You can do that same thing on air. Teach ISO. Outside guy's got a 5-yard in. Inside receiver's got a seam. You can get groups of 4 going. So these guys are doing this. You don't even need to throw a ball. By throwing a ball to those younger guys, if it doesn't get caught, you're spending all your time chasing footballs. So you want to teach those routes and formations on air. You don't even want to use a ball. Just let them kind of get lined up right and learn what the routes are going to be. Our third route in our 90 game is going to be what we call the term hack. So hack starting with an H. That's going to be our quick hitch game. Again, you can see the outside receivers on the ball. Inside receivers, the Z here. It's going to be hitch. You can mirror this. So by saying hack mirror, that means all 4 receivers are going to be doing hitches. But again, if they don't get tagged with anything, they have ISO on the backside. Here's staff. This is a really successful play at the youth level. It's a slant flat concept, S and an F in the terminology. So you have your slant by the outside guy, an out route or that arrow route. And then if you wanted to, you could roll out your quarterback to make the throw a little bit easier. Obviously, we have ISO on the backside, but this would just be a doubles right, 90 staff play call, doubles right, 90 staff. and then you'd work your protection. But quarterback, any of these 90 routes, it's pre-snap. You already have a good idea where you're going because it's a 3-step drop is what we want to teach as coaches. Pre-snap, meaning before they say hike, they have a good idea who their best player is they're trying to get the ball or why that coach is calling the play. We're calling the play to kind of work our slant flat concept. So if this guy chased him, you would throw the arrow route to the outside or might have that slant route right there. So those are our 4 key concepts. Technically 5 when you think of ISO. You have your fog, sassy, hack, staff, and ISO, which can be incorporated with 90 and 99, meaning right and left. Any of those 5 concepts, if you wanted to do a 3-by-1 formation, which means you would just move your S over to this side right here. Imagine he's not here. Okay, that guy is still going to run his seam route down the middle. So we're still running that seam route down the middle, which is good because you kind of clear out the middle of the field. It works good on any of those concepts. You want to use speed. You don't want to just drift down the middle and run in no man's land. So if you're in an open right, Y, Z, S would be the inside guy. He's running that ISO route down the middle. You still have your backside ISO. Is why we built in and attached ISO. It gives the quarterback an out. He always knows he's going to have those 2 guys working the same concept. Whatever reason, let's say he gets a bad snap or the receiver falls down, he knows he's got a 5-yard in on the backside with a seam route down the middle. For whatever reason, if that's your best player and you want to throw it up to him, but no matter what, if something happens over here on the right, he gets into danger, fumble, whatever, you got a 5-yard in over there.